Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the IVES number 962-626 rectangular flush pole with a black inset. Just a recessed cavity. That, I'll tell you, that's plastic laminate. Okay, I've never seen plastic laminate installed in the back of a flush pole before. That is no doubt plastic laminate. Interesting. Don't know that it's a problem. I'm used to it being stainless. Okay. Don't see that really as being a problem myself. Laminate, obviously I've never seen laminate done like this before. Laminate's very durable. It's obviously used for countertops. It's used on the face of doors and countless other applications. There are 3 grades of laminate, I know that. There's standard or horizontal, there's vertical, and then post form. All 3 of those are thin, medium, and then thicker. Standard grade or horizontal grade would be maybe 60 thousandths. Post form is, I think, vertical grade might be the middle size, maybe 40 thousandths, and then post form might be the thinnest grade, maybe 30 thousandths. This is clearly one of those. I just don't know what it is. So black laminate, that's an ingenious way to do it. I might, you're not going to make contact with the back of that, or you're not going to make any sort of force on the back of it. So I don't know that it would be a problem, but I don't know that it would take too much to burst through the fact that that laminate is held on with these peened over features that they have here, or staked over. Okay, let's move on. It has black plastic laminate. One good thing about it being laminate, I'll tell you this. When I took it out of the package, there's 2 of them here. When I took it out of the package, I did think to myself, oh, it's nice to see a flush pole that does not have a scratched backer. It's nice to see that. Plastic laminate is very durable. It would take quite a chore to scratch that so that you damage the finish. Whereas something that has been, flat black coated or whatever the case might be, that may not be as durable as a piece of black laminate. So that might be an advantage there. I'll tell you that. I would certainly consider that an option. So this is a flush pole. Where are you going to use this? Generally in sliding doors, but not only. You can use this in swinging doors as well. You'll very often see this installed in a swinging door when you have the look on the door that's going for the minimal hardware sort of concept. You might have center hung pivots, you might have an edge pole, you might have a flush pole, you might have a roller latch. Much of it is concealed or does not present too much of a footprint to the observer. A flush pole obviously does, but it's smaller than a giant lever on the door or a door pole. Obviously for sliding doors as well, it's a very thin profile off the face of the door, so will certainly slide into the pocket. This is available in 3 finishes. The 962 is in 626, which is satin chrome over solid brass. If they're calling this 626, I would imagine that this face material is solid brass. You can do it in 605, which is polished brass, and 613, which is oil-rubbed bronze. They will come with a couple of screws and a black complementary finish for attaching it through the hole here and then up here. That's how that works. Installing these is super easy, or I suppose it could be a chore. I would not dream of installing this with anything other than a router and a template that I probably made and clamped to the door, because that would make very quick and very clean, professional, predictable, reliable, dependable results. A hammer and chisel, that would be dreadful to consider that. But I suppose it could be done if you had only one to do, which probably wouldn't. You probably have pairs. So we'll talk about how to go about installing this material. And again, sliding and swinging doors, it's a nice quality fit and finish that's on here. And I think what we'll do now is let's switch to the screen view where we can take a look at the supporting documentation. So herein is the item that we are looking at, and a little technical drawing here. There's not really much else in the way of information but product brochure, and we'll look at that in a moment. The truth of the matter is I don't really think you need much else to help you understand what needs to be done. Actually, it may not be true. Well, I suppose it's true. Let's take a look. Okay, rectangular flush pole with black inset. Dimensional properties. We'll go over these dimensional properties with a tape measure before we complete this video. A couple of concealed oval head Phillips. Oval head Phillips screw is what that is, and that is indeed an oval head screw. So this product brochure, let's take a look at that. And this material is fairly recent from IVES. This document is 5 years old at this point, but nonetheless, here's the 962 along with all of its sister products. And the issue in terms of there being a template is that there just simply may not be a template published or available for that, which would be really just a technical drawing. It would be this, except that it would probably give guidance in terms of what dimensions you ought to be mortising this for. I don't know that we're going to really need that because it gives us our overall width at basically 2 7/16, right? Less 0.103 times 2 would be the inside dimension of the unit. I don't see it called out really any other way. Okay, so we'll test that. I'm going to get over here to the manufacturer's page, and while that page is loading, which is I'm going to be looking for a template on the manufacturer's page. The rest of the product brochure is handy because the 919 itself, in my experience, is not common, but that oval shape is most certainly a common design. The 950, 955, a bit more commercial looking. They're going to certainly be considered more robust, and I don't see one here that's handicap compliant. At all. The 955 may have the width and height to be... Oh, actually, I don't believe it does. So I don't see any of them here that are handicap compliant. They do exist. I don't see one by IVES, however. Okay, so that manufacturer's page in our site has loaded. I'm going to hop over to the manufacturer's website here. And let's just see if we're lucky, so to speak, on a template for a 962. I see something pop up there. Oh, great luck. Okay, super. So by the time you're seeing this video, this document will be included here. Okay, so let's take a look at this template, they call it. Okay, I don't see any guidance in terms of what they're telling us to mortise the material for. So in this case, you use your experience. And I can tell you that... you know, it is nice to be able to see the piece of hardware when you are absent of specific directions from the manufacturer. The bottom line is, provided that this piece of equipment is accurate according to the template, or the template accurately reflects the dimensional properties, you should be able to pretty reasonably, if you've mortised for these, or door hardware, proceed with confidence that you're going to prep for the right material. So they're telling us the overall width of the back is 2.22. So 2 7/32 maybe. 1 divided by 32 times 7. Yeah, basically 2 7/32 of an inch. The height they're giving us at 3 and almost 3/4, 12, maybe 23/32. I'm just doing the math quickly in my head. And you know that you have this 0.103 reveal. And you can determine that also, you can verify that by taking 2.431 minus 2.221 divided by 2. That will tell you what your reveal, or what your distance is from the cup portion to the outside. So in this case, you can see that you don't have a lot of room to play with. In fact, you have less than 1/4 inch. So if it was me, I might like to see the hardware before I prepped, but if I was going to guess, I would probably make my prep 3.731 plus 0.125. What I'm saying is I might add 1/8 of an inch, or in fact, I might add just 0.103. Okay, I might add just half of that, so I had a small amount of distance hanging over. And I would probably take that logic on the width as well. Okay, in terms of a depth, they are showing it quite clearly here, 0.601. I might probably just make that depth 5/8 of an inch and be done with it. My tape measure is telling me it's a little heavy on that dimension, and that actually 5/8 would not be adequate. However, if you had a particle board door, that probably wouldn't put up too much of a fight on those on this area here of where they're showing that you're holding that laminate on in the back. Okay, so it's helpful to have the hardware. However, you know, with some experience, you could certainly make an educated, accurate determination as to what to prep it. But you do hear often someone who is supplying doors and mortising the doors for the hardware that they say, I want the hardware first. And it's not that they're incapable of mortising it. Their experience tells them that there is a difference between the actual item and what's on the paper. And ultimately, regardless of who's at fault, they will be responsible for the door not being prepped correctly, at least indirectly. So when we finish up this video, we're going to put a tape measure on this. We'll actually put a caliper on it to see how accurate it is. So if you'll leave that page open, we'll hop to it. Now, the manufacturer's page here, okay, allows us to get back to this page. This page will allow us to review not only all of the IVES products we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, which we just hopped to, and then a link to the manufacturer's product catalog as well, and that will allow you to pull up all things IVES related. I don't know that the 962 is in here. Oh, it is actually. Well, yeah, it is. There you go. So there's your 962. They list other finishes that I did not mention earlier, but we will have those included in. So very handy to be able to review all of the material that you see here, the 960, the 955, etc. Okay. Now the name IVES is synonymous with trim and auxiliary hardware. However, we have some very old catalogs that are here, and they were primarily a company who made window hardware, sash locks, sash lifts, and all sorts of varieties. So if you wanted to see what IVES made in 1904, there's the catalog in order to do it. Let's switch back to the camera view where we can talk more about how to prep this and check the dimensions. Now, I've mortised for hardware like this, and I believe every type of hardware, whether it be just a butt hinge or an olive knuckle hinge or a pivot or a overhead concealed stop, mortise locks, function holes, the whole 9 yards. These are pretty easy, and like I had said earlier, I would absolutely not do this without a router. I would, but I would want to use my router. Looking at that template, if you still have that pulled up, I'm going to refer to it now. So they're talking about 2.22 inch wide. Let's do the overall first. The overall height, they basically have 3 and 15/16. My caliper, I think, just goes to 4 inch. Good news, everyone. Yeah, the overall is 3.954. So very, very, very close to what they're talking about. They have a height of the body at 3.731. I never need my caliper quite this large, quite this wide. 3.731. Yeah, my caliper is closer to 3.53, 3.53. So we're dealing with, you know, a 1/48 of an inch, something in that range. The overall height, pardon me, the overall width of the unit, they've got 2.43. My caliper tells me 2.437, so that's really spot on. The width, they have 2.22. My caliper's telling me 2.242. So again, about 20 thousandths off. So, you know, if I was going to prep this and I had the hardware in my hand, I would probably be at 2 1/4 plus a 30-second, 2 5/30 seconds. I'd be right in that range. I'd want it to be as tight as possible. The issue is you're going to need to probably square those corners out a little bit. So that's the width. The height, I would use the same logic, really. I might be about 3.8 inch. 3 13/16. Again, maybe about 30 thousandths less than that, something right in that range. You'll have to decide, and probably what I would do, not probably, what I would absolutely do if I was doing this project, I would prep it one time, and I would then fit the hardware. I would make any adjustments to my template at that point. The template, 3/4 inch piece of poplar, basically. Cut it, make your prep one time. I would set the back set so that you flushed up to the edge of the door and clamped it down. You wouldn't worry about the back set. I might take it a step further and make a really long template so that I could margin that probably to the bottom of the door, assuming that I had a consistent undercut, because then I didn't care if it was 6/8, 7/0, 8/0, 9/0, whatever the height of the door was, so that I'm not thinking about it. I'm squaring it off on the door, making sure it's flush with the edge, clamping my template down, and then just routing using my plunge router and routing that through is how I would do it. The size of your hole in your template is going to be accounted for what size you want to net, plus your router guide bushing, what I have referred to as a collet in the past. It's really the bushing outside of the router bit. Typical 1/2 inch 2-flute carbide bit would do the job just swimmingly. Because those margins, that 0.103 is so tight, and the potential for variation, which does exist, is present, I might, depending on, if I had no experience with this at all, I would tell the client, I can make it from the template. I'm going to use my best interest, my best experience to do this. It would be in our mutual best interest if I had a sample of the hardware to double check, because I want it to show up and the hardware person, installer, not have any trouble. And that's not always the case, or possible, because you can't get your hands on the hardware because it's going to take a month to get, and the doors need to be on the site in 2 weeks. Sometimes the client says, I'll mortise it on the job. Don't worry about it, we'll do it on the job, which doesn't happen often. But if you've done this once or twice, then you kind of get the idea of how to go about doing it in terms of what to expect and what to prep for. Very nice finish on this IVES product. This is certainly imported. I don't know where it's from, probably Taiwan, somewhere like that, some place in Asia. And I believe I find variation with templates and the original article certainly exists. I do admittedly find it more on imported hardware, and it's because, I don't know why it's because, but the paperwork, the drawing, and the actual article don't always match. Something is out of date. I generally find that they'll say that the template or the drawing is out of date. They don't draw it and then make it, meaning, pardon me, they don't make it and then draw it. They draw it and then make it, so that that template is more so the thing that I would think to be the item that may be questionable. Because let's face it, you've got the hardware in your hands. That's what you're dealing with. So, interesting use of laminate. Don't know that I have a problem with that at all. Certainly going to make it less expensive, I would imagine, because the finishing's already done. Black laminate. Get sheets of it. Easy to cut, obviously. And there you go. Have at it. Now, let's wrap up this video. The name IVES is synonymous, as I had said earlier, with trim and auxiliary hardware. Back years and years and decades ago, they really had a complement of residential builders hardware, lots of window hardware, and other related items. The name IVES is morphed into a supporting pillar under the umbrella of a Legion, where you've got Schlage and Von Duprin, LCN, Glenn Johnson, Zero, Falcon, Doramatic. Well, IVES is the trim and auxiliary company and the hinge company, whether it be typical commercial hinges, pin and barrel, continuous aluminum geared hinges. So it complements that set of companies that they move forward with when projects are done: exits, door closers, lock sets, trim and auxiliary hinges, etc., etc. So that's where IVES is, and they're not anything like the company they were 30 years ago, in the sense of you weren't buying butt hinges from IVES 30 years ago. You were buying shutter bars. And I think they still make shutter bars, but a lot of that hardware has gone away. But the point of the matter is the name IVES is quite synonymous, understood, familiar, trusted in trim and auxiliary hardware. One thing about IVES, if you ever deal with pivots, I would take a look at the IVES pivot line, and it's mostly because their installation instructions are not as if you're looking at the blueprints of the space shuttle. There's a lot less information on there, so they've done a really good job at distilling it. So if you're new to pivots, don't be intimidated with the other people that make pivots and their drawings. But if you really want to ease into it, I would take a look at an IVES pivot and then the backup supporting installation instructions for that. It will be a little more accessible. Come on in, it's fine. The impression you'll get when it comes to thinking about pivots. Any questions on the 962 and a 626 finish or any other IVES product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.